Hi everyone, so in this video we're going to be looking at expanding double brackets this time, okay? And we're going to start off by looking at the following example. So we got x plus 3 times by x plus 5, okay? And I'm going to show you two different methods in which we can solve this, okay? And then you can choose whichever one you like. So the first one, which is my personal favorite, is using arrows, okay, to indicate that we're going to multiply everything in this bracket by everything in the second bracket, okay? So the way to do this is by first looking at your x, okay? Remembering to multiply by the other x, and also multiplying that first x by the plus 5, okay? And then we move over to looking at the plus 3 in my first bracket and multiplying that by everything in this bracket, okay? So that means I'm going to do 3 times by x and also 3 times by 5. Okay, so I'm going to actually multiply them out now. So that means I'm going to do x times by x, okay, which gives me x squared. Because remember, I've got a invisible 1 on top of my x's as the power. So that means I'm going to add my powers, okay, which gives me x squared. You can refer back to my index laws video in order to jog your memory about multiplying variables and what happens to the powers, okay? And then the next one we're going to do is x times by positive 5, okay? The sign is very important. That's why I'm remembering to say the sign with it, even though it is positive, because you'll see in a bit when it comes to negative, then it can get a bit tricky. So we've got to remember to include our signs. So x times by positive 5 gives me 5x, okay? And then next I'm going to be looking at my 3. So I'm going to do 3 times by x, which gives me 3x. And then I've got 3 times by positive 5, which gives me 15, okay? So that's the end of my multiplication. And then it's just a case of collecting your like terms and writing out your full answer, okay? So that means I've got x squared plus 5x plus, change it to the green pen, plus 3x plus 15, okay? And that means now I need to be collecting my like terms and seeing what I can do to simplify this expression, okay? Again, you can refer back to my previous video on collecting like terms if you need any help with that. So that means what I can do is, because I've got a 5x and a 3x, okay, I can add them together because they are like terms. So that means I will be left with x squared plus 5 plus 3, which is 8, plus 8x, and then plus 15, okay? And the other two don't have like terms, so I leave them as it is, and that's my final answer. Okay, and then the next method, which I told you about, that I'll show you, is the grid method, okay? Now this one is a bit long-winded, which is why I don't personally like to use it, but it can be helpful to some people who like to visualize exactly what they're doing, okay? And who sometimes forget what is happening with the arrows, because that can be a little bit confusing to remember where to put your arrows, okay? But with practice, that can come in, and you'll get used to it because you'll be doing it so much. So the grid method is as follows. It's just like when we're multiplying normal numbers, okay? So I'll put my time sign there, and because there are 2 numbers here, 2 numbers there, I'm going to have 2 columns and 2 rows, okay? So on one side, so at the top, I'm just going to put my x and my plus 5, and on the other side, so down here, I'm going to put my x and my plus 3, okay? Now notice I'm putting the symbols of the numbers, so I'm putting the plus sign and the plus sign here as well, because like I said, when we're multiplying, the signs really matter. So we've got to remember to put our signs where the numbers are, okay? And same with the x's as well. If they had a minus in front of it, I would be putting that in my box over here, okay? Then it's just a case now of actually doing your multiplication. So that means that I'll be doing my x times by my x, which gives me x squared, and then my x times by my plus 5, which gives me plus 5x, plus 3 times by x gives me plus 3x, and plus 3 times by plus 5 gives me plus 15, okay? And again, you can see we've arrived at the same sort of answer, and now it's just again a case of collecting your like terms and writing out your final answer. So that means I'll be having x squared plus 5x plus 3x and plus 15. Again, you can write them out in any order, but it's nice to have your, your square term first, then your x term, and then your normal number term, okay? And then I can collect my like terms, which is adding these two numbers here. So I've still got my x squared. This turns out to be 8x plus 8x and then plus 15, okay? And that's my final answer. Okay, so next example, you can see I've got a longer expression in one of the brackets, okay? So it's just kind of taking it one step ahead and showing you what happens then. And also you can see some negative symbols as well, okay? So this is a nice example to show you what happens when things get a little bit more trickier. So I'm going to stick with my arrows method, but like I said, if you prefer the grid method, you can do that as well. It's the same thing, but this time in either your rows or your columns, you will have three boxes, okay, because you've got one expression which has got three terms, and then the other boxes, the other rows or columns will have two boxes, okay? So I'm going to just draw my arrows. So x is going to multiply by x by 3y plus 3y and also by negative 4, okay? So I've got three arrows this time because there's three terms here. Then negative 5 should be multiplied, just use a different color here. So negative 5 should be multiplied by everything on the other bracket. So that's x plus 3y and then negative 4 as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually multiply them out now. So x times by x gives me x squared. X times by positive 3y, okay, gives me just 3xy, okay? There's no like terms here, so I've got to just include my variables as they are like this, okay? Because they're just being multiplied. Then x times by negative 4, which gives me negative 4x, okay? So that's all the purple arrows done. Then moving over to the green ones, having negative 5 times by x gives me negative 5x. And then negative 5 times by 3y gives me negative 15y. And lastly, negative 5 times by negative 4, it gives me positive 20, okay? This is why the arrows do help you to really see what you're multiplying when you've got your negative signs. And like I said, remember to include your negative signs, okay? Now it's just going to be a case of me collecting my like terms, okay? Okay, so I've written out my final full answer. Now it's a case of me seeing, are there any like terms that I can actually collect? So I'm just going to take my red pen and see what I can actually collect. So I've got a negative 4x and a negative 5x. They are like terms. And that's about it. I haven't got anything else that I can collect, okay, together, because this is xy, this is a y term, this is a number term, and this is an x squared term. So I can't really collect anything else. So my final answer, therefore, will just be x squared plus 3xy minus 9x, because minus 4 minus 5, and then minus 15y, and then plus 20. Okay, so that's going to be my final answer. Okay, and then for the last example, I have picked this one. So 2x minus 4 times by 3x plus 6. Now, you'll notice something is different about this example, and that is the fact that in front of the variable, I've got a number which is not 1, okay? So I've got a 3 here and a 2 over here, okay? And these are called coefficients. So the coefficient here is greater than 1, and coefficient just means the number that's been multiplied, okay, or divided by the variable, okay, which could be x, y, c, a, etc. So we're going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and use my arrows, okay, and actually see what I need to multiply together, and then we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to do 2x times by 3x, then 2x times by plus 6, then negative 4 times by 3x, and then negative 4 times by positive 6, okay? And now I'm actually going to do my multiplication. So 2x times by 3x gives me 6x squared, okay, and then 2x times by positive 6 gives me 12x. And then lastly, let's move over to my green terms. So negative 4 times by 3x gives me negative 12x. And then negative 4 times by positive 6 gives me negative 24. Okay, if you need to jog your memory about negative number rules, again, I've got a video that you can head over to on my channel that can help you remember what to do with multiplying negative numbers. Okay, so now we're just going to again write out my answers and then collect my like terms. So I've got write out my answers and then collect my like terms. So I've got 6x squared and then plus 12x, take away 12x, take away 24. Okay, and now what we can see is happening here is that we've got a 12x and a negative 12x in the middle, okay, of my expression. That means that they're going to cancel out because 12 take away 12 is just 0. So I'm going to be left with nothing here, okay, no x term. So my answer will just be 6x squared take away 24. Now these are actually special sorts of expressions, okay, which I will come into when I do the video about factorizing quadratics, okay. So I'll go into more detail about when you've got an expression where you've got no x term in the middle of it, okay. So that's for my examples for expanding double brackets, and now we're going to look at expanding double brackets in context. So some actual worded problems where you've got areas of other topics involved as well, okay. So now we're going to look at a question where it's at a worded problem and you've got the expanding double brackets integrated into this. Okay, so it's a typical type of an exam question that you can get on the GCSE papers. So we've got write an expression for the area of this triangle. Okay, so you can see that the length is 2x plus 4 and the width is x plus 2. Okay, so I need to first of all think, what is the area of the triangle? Okay, what's the formula for the area of a triangle? So that we know has got to be half base times height. Okay, so here, so I'm just going to write down base times height to remember what the formula is. So now I need to identify what is the base and what is the height. Okay, so the base, remember, is the bottom bit, so that's your x plus 2, and your height is your 2x plus 4. Okay, so I'm going to now write that out. So I've got half. I'm going to do these square brackets because you'll see in a bit, because otherwise I have lots of brackets and it's easy to get confused then. So I need to do half of my base, which is x plus 2. I need to then multiply that by 2x plus 4, okay, and then I'm going to close my brackets because I need to remember to then half my expression afterwards. So let's go ahead and deal with what's in the square brackets, so expanding these two double brackets. Okay, so again, I'm going to draw my arrows. So x times by 2x, x times by plus 4, and remember to do the same here at the top, so 2 times by 2x and 2 times by plus 4. So let's go ahead and actually multiply that out. So I've got x, and I'm multiplying that by 2x first, which gives me 2x squared. Okay, and then I've got x multiplying by 4, positive 4, and that is 4x, plus 4x. And then I've got my plus 2, which I'm multiplying by 2x, which gives me 4x again. And then 2 times by positive 4, which gives me 8. Okay, now I need to be actually writing out my full answer. Okay, so that is 2x squared plus 4x plus 4x and then plus 8. Okay, so collecting my like terms, the only like terms I've got is 4x and 4x, so I'm going to add them together. That gives me 2x squared plus 8x plus 8. Now, remember, going back to my question here, my working out, I need to remember to half my answer, okay? So, halving my answer, okay? So I need to remember to half all of this, gives me, so if we half 2x squared, we will just get x squared because we're dividing 2 by 2, which gives me 1. So just something to bear in mind, when you have got a half and you've got an algebraic expression, it just means you're looking at halving your coefficients, okay, or your number terms. You're not doing anything to the x or the powers, okay, because it doesn't apply to them. It's only to your coefficients. So let's go back now, and then plus 8x, if I halve that, remember it's 8 divided by 2, which gives me 4x, and then plus 8, if I halve that, it's just going to be plus 4. So my answer is just x squared plus 4x plus 4. And remember, because it's an area question, your answer should have units. Well, they've not really given us units here, but I'm just going to assume that it will be centimeters, okay? So I'm going to put centimeters squared here, okay, to show that that is the answer for an area question, okay? Okay, so for the last question, I've got this one. So the rectangle here is the cross-section of a cuboid of length 3x. Write an algebraic expression for the volume of the cuboid. Now, we've been given a rectangle here with side lengths as follows, and we've only been told that this is the cross-section of a cuboid, okay? Now, cross-section, that just means, remember, a 3D shape that you have, if you cut it along its length, okay, the face that looks back at you is the cross section. In this case, we've got a cuboid, and remember the cross section of a cuboid is just going to be a rectangle, okay, because when you cut a cuboid along its length, you'll only get a rectangle looking back at you. So that's just a little recap of what a cross section is. Then we've been told that I need to write an expression for the volume of the cuboid. Okay, so I'm going to just sketch out the problem here, okay, to help us visualize it better. So I've got the sketch of my cuboid here, okay, just a quick rough sketch, and I've got my side measurements here, x minus 11 and x plus 7, which I was given in the question, okay, and then I've also gone ahead and written down the length, which is 3x of my cuboid, okay, and what I need to do to work out the volume, remember, is to do your cross-sectional area times by the length, okay, of your shape. So I need to first of all work out the area of this rectangle here, okay? So to do that, what I need to do is the following. So I've got x minus 11, and I'm multiplying that by x plus 7, okay, to work out the area of the rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my arrows, as I always do, to help me. So I've got x times by x, and x times by positive 7, and also I have got minus 11 times by x and minus 11 times by positive 7. So let's go ahead and actually multiply it out. So I've got x times by x gives me x squared, x times by positive 7 gives me positive 7x, and then I have got negative 11 times by x, which gives me negative 11x, and then I've got negative 11 times by positive 7, which gives me negative 77, okay, and then it's just now a case of collecting your like terms. So we've got x squared plus 7x, take away 11x, take away 77, okay, so the only like terms again I've got is just down here in the middle, so it's x squared plus 7 now we've got, and we're taking away 11x. So plus 7 take away 11 gives me negative 4x, and then I've got my negative 77. Okay, so that is the area then of my rectangle, okay, over here. And now what I need to do to work out the volume is multiply my area by my length of my cuboid, which is 3x, okay. So for the last bit, I just have to multiply 3x by everything inside my bracket. Okay, so this is just like expanding a single bracket, which again is in my prior video on my channel if you want to go ahead and check that out. So 3x times by x squared gives me 3x cubed, and then 3x times by negative 4x gives me negative 12x squared. Then 3x times by negative 77 gives me, so we've got this time a bit of a difficult multiplication. We've got 3 times by 77, okay, and it's negative, which we can deal with later. But what we can do is just do your write down 77 3 times and do it that way, or you can do the multiplication method, okay, or a grid method to work that out. So this brings us to the end of our expanding double brackets video. So if you found this video helpful, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, okay? Share it with your friends and family, and also comment if you need any more help with any particular topics. I'm happy to pick them, you know, and work on them next. And also, yeah, subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.